Video 256. Depression and isolation in retirement, recognizing the signs. Retirement is often sold as a reward, golden years, freedom, relaxation. For many people, it's genuinely wonderful. For others, the loss of daily structure, work identity, and built-in social contact opens a door to loneliness and depression that catches them completely off guard. Recognizing it in yourself or someone you love is the first step toward getting through it. Why retirement can trigger this. A job isn't just a paycheck. It's a schedule, a sense of purpose, a built-in social circle, and often a core piece of identity. When all of that disappears at once, even a genuinely wanted retirement can trigger a real sense of loss. Add in physical changes, the death of friends and family members, reduced mobility, and sometimes financial stress, and it's easy to see why depression rates among seniors are significant, even though it's a topic rarely discussed openly in this generation. What to actually watch for. Depression in older adults doesn't always look like sadness. It often shows up as physical complaints without a clear medical cause, irritability, withdrawing from activities and people that used to bring joy, changes in sleep or appetite, difficulty concentrating, and a general sense of flatness or apathy. Because these symptoms can overlap with normal aging or other medical conditions, depression in seniors is frequently missed or dismissed by doctors, by family, and sometimes by the person experiencing it themselves, who assumes this is just what getting old feels like. It isn't, and it's treatable. The retirement timeline. Worth knowing about. Research on retirement adjustment points to a rough pattern worth being aware of: an initial honeymoon phase of relief and freedom, often followed by a harder stretch some months in, once the novelty fades and the absence of structure starts to feel more like a void than a vacation. Knowing this dip is common, rather than a personal sign that retirement was a mistake, can make it easier to push through rather than spiral into it. Most people who build new routines and connections do eventually settle into a genuinely satisfying rhythm, but that adjustment period is real, and naming it in advance takes some of its power away. Isolation makes it worse, and it's more common than you'd think. Losing a spouse, having adult children move away, giving up driving, or simply outliving your friend group can shrink a social world dramatically over just a few years. Isolation and depression feed each other in a cycle. Feeling low makes you want to withdraw further, and withdrawing further deepens the low feeling. Breaking that cycle usually requires an outside push, whether that's a family member checking in regularly, a senior center program, a faith community, or professional support. Getting help and what it actually involves. Start with a conversation with a primary care doctor who can screen for depression and rule out other medical causes, like thyroid issues or medication side effects that can mimic depression symptoms. Medicare covers mental health counseling, including telehealth therapy sessions, so cost is often less of a barrier than people assume. Beyond formal treatment, structured routine matters more than most people expect. A weekly class, a volunteer commitment, a standing coffee date, small recurring points of connection add up to real protection against isolation. If you're supporting someone else. If you're worried about a spouse, parent, or friend rather than yourself, resist the urge to simply tell them to get out more or look on the bright side. Well-meaning advice like this often lands as dismissive rather than helpful. Instead, invite them to something specific rather than offering a vague open invitation, since a concrete plan is far easier to say yes to than an abstract one. Check in consistently rather than once, since a single conversation rarely changes an established pattern of withdrawal, and gently raise the idea of a doctor's visit as a caring suggestion rather than a confrontation. So as we wrap up, here's the real takeaway. Depression and isolation in retirement are far more common and far more treatable than most people realize. Retirement changes your routines, your identity, your social world, and sometimes your sense of purpose. When those shifts pile up, it's completely understandable to feel flat, disconnected, or overwhelmed. None of that means you're weak, failing, or not adjusting right. It means you're human. The most important thing is recognizing the signs early and remembering that help exists, real, effective help, and you don't have to navigate this alone. Now, here's your improved call to action. If you're worried about yourself or someone you love, reach out to a doctor this week. A simple conversation can rule out medical causes, open the door to counseling, and help you rebuild structure and connection. You don't have to wait for things to get worse, and you don't have to push through it alone. Taking that first step isn't a burden, it's an act of care, and it's worth doing sooner rather than later. Thanks for spending this time with me today. If this helped you feel seen or understood, feel free to join me for more videos like this. And remember, feeling low isn't a permanent state. With support, connection, and the right tools, things can get better. I'll see you in the next one.